Julian here, or you might know me from Color Out of Space. And did you know that Color Out of Space actually shot in Portugal? Portugal is so beautiful, and I loved being there. And did you know Nicolas Cage actually taught me how to do some new, improv type things? I had a blast on that film. And anyway, I really hope you have a great week, and I hope your podcast goes really great, and bye.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast, partnered with the Roll Up Network. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. We really appreciate all the support. You guys are awesome. Before we jump into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. We got all of our episodes, like this one will be up there, all of our interviews, our store, blog, everything about this podcast is on our website. Check it out. And you can follow us on our social medias, which is on there, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, as Brian calls it. And on YouTube, you go subscribe to us there. So anything you need to know about our podcast, check out don'tgoouthere.com. And, we've got something we started, something like Patreon, and we're actually going to be announcing another form of Patreon later called Blood Donors.
We are so excited by the participation in this blood donor campaign. For those of you who don't know or maybe new, we have launched a new Patreon campaign called Blood Donors. We have 5 donor tiers that range from, just $5 monthly donation to even one-time donations as well. And in exchange for keeping the lights on, we've added perks such as early content to bonus episodes, autographed pictures, t-shirts, and even joining us for an episode of your choice. Any donation goes straight to helping with web hosting, SoundCloud hosting, guest procurement. Again, just thank you guys and girls so much. We have some of the best loyal listeners. We love each and every one of you. We can't believe every day that we get to do this. Just go to don'tgoouthere.com and click donate. And oh yes, there will be blood. But again, not real blood. This is money, you animals.
We got brother Sean Irwin on our show tonight, one of our biggest fans. He's a legendary blood donor, so we'll be doing a film review tonight that he picked, 2020, I believe, or 19. I saw conflicting reports on that. It's what's that? Shudder. It's a Shudder exclusive. That's Color right. Out of Space. Sean, do you want to tell us why you picked this movie?
Yeah.
Please tell me why you picked this movie. I need to know.
I picked this movie. I've always been a big fan of Lovecraft. He's one of the big reasons I got into horror in the first place. And this is one of his most bizarre stories, so I wanted to see if they could do it justice. And I honestly think they did. It's a hard story to adapt, but if you're going to adapt it, this is the way you got to do it. And I just wanted to watch something so bizarre and make you guys watch it too.
Hey, like you said, man, you're a big, Lovecraft is what got you into it. Honestly, I've never heard of the guy. I'm just being honest. I've read about Lovecraftian horror, and if this is what the movies are like, it's just not my style. I mean, I'm not going to be disrespectful to any fans who listen and are fans of Lovecraftian style horror or his short stories or whatever. But it's just not my cup of tea personally.
Yeah. Well, hold on. You've actually reviewed a Lovecraftian before. The Thing would be considered Lovecraftian.
He didn't like that either.
Yeah, people love that one, and I was just like, nah, it's okay.
I forgot about that.
Brian, you want to go next, brother?
Yeah, so let me just preface this by saying I wanted to like it, especially when I found out that everyone else here really kind of didn't. And look, I mean, I've not been shy about saying that I'm a fan of sci-fi, and hell, it's almost almost never, besides the thing like you just brought up, do we ever get like cosmic horror and like shit, cosmic horror, sign me up. And if anybody is gonna like this one, I thought it was gonna be me, honestly. I don't and I don't know Sean, except for being a fan of the show, which thank you again by the way for that. We're gonna thank you a million times, man. It's we really appreciate your support through the last 2 years. But the little interaction that we've had, to say that we see opposite on films is definitely an understatement. I mean,
That's
so so
yes.
I didn't go into this expecting much, honestly. And look, I mean, and admittedly, I don't know enough about Lovecraftian to speak really intelligently on the subject. I've never really read the short story that this is based on. But one of my biggest issues is that it is a short story and it's stretched into 2 hours. It's way too long in my opinion. And
Thank
you know,
you.
and I will because I'm going before Dustin and Mike. I'm the one of the few here that I think that actually really like Nick Cage as an actor. I love Gone in 60 Seconds. It's one of my favorite movies. National Treasure movies. I love them. But
That's it.
he has definitely done some stinkers. So I like
Man's
Cage
never met a
in some
role he
movies.
would turn down.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to argue with that. That's the truth
Nope.
too. So, but I do not like Nick Cage in this one. I mean, this is probably the worst performance that I've ever seen him give. Honestly, it was like Nick Cage was doing an impersonation of Nick Cage the entire time.
I'll get into that later.
Yeah, well, the rest of the cast I think is really good in this. The dialogue to me I think is horrendous. And again, maybe I don't know enough about Lovecraftian style. Maybe it's supposed to be that way, but I hated the dialogue for most of this movie. I will say it does some things well, which I'll get into. But I'm sorry, like this movie doesn't do enough for me to enjoy it.
Mike.
First of all, it's good to be back, everyone. Just thought I'd start with a little positivity around here. Sean, good to see you again. Been a long time. Okay, we've exchanged pleasantries. This is a perfectly good movie for me to poop on. Damn it, Sean. This movie sucks, man. Come on. This is terrible. Listen to me, man. We've reviewed Jason Takes Manhattan, a movie that I despise with every fiber of my being. And I would watch that on a loop, Clockwork Orange style, for the rest of my life before I ever put this movie on again. Okay? And I'm not knocking the people. I'm not knocking the people involved. I'm sure they're wonderful human beings. Or whatever. I don't know. But this movie is a pack of ass. I'm going to save the other pack so Dustin can have his turn. But listen, man. For starters, I'm the opposite of Brian. I don't necessarily like cosmic horror or anything along that line. That's just not my cup of tea in the first place. I'm not saying it can't be done well. Like you said, as far as Lovecraft goes, we've reviewed The Thing. I love John Carpenter's The Thing. It's a great film. I think it's awesome. So I will give that credit. But this movie, it's not that movie. I can tell you that much right now.
God, no.
I don't like Nick Cage. I like National Treasure, the first one, and that's about it. I can stand Con Air if it's on. I probably won't change the channel if Con Air is on, but I'm not actively seeking out that film. That's about it. Outside of that, he's one of my least favorite famous actors that's ever been, and I don't understand. He doesn't hit with me. And in this movie, Brian, you literally said exactly what I said. This is like a guy playing Nick. Honestly, you said it's Nick Cage playing Nick Cage. It's a guy playing Nick Cage that's playing a Nick Cage-like role in this movie. It's very odd. He doesn't sound like himself. He doesn't move like a normal person. Like, I don't know. It's a very weird role for him to be in. And I know he's done some other horror stinkers. Mandy, which I liked more than this one, that's for damn sure.
Andy has a huge cult following.
Yeah. And again, so I'm not saying that's not valid. It just doesn't hold up here. I did disagree with Brian on one other thing. I don't think the rest of the cast is very good either. The dialogue is absolutely terrible all across the board. And to me, when I think of dialogue that's bad, if it's so bad it's good, like Sleepaway Camp 2, where I can get some enjoyment out of it, I'm fine with that. But in this movie, this isn't how people talk to each other. Everyone in this movie talks to the person like they're in a movie and they know they're in a movie. It's very strange to me. I can't stand it. But okay, I'm not saying there's nothing positive to say. There's 2 scenes in the movie that I think are shot really well, so bravo to that. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I'm sorry. I went into it with an open mind, even though it had Nick Cage in it. I went into it with an open mind, but I just could not. About 15 minutes in, I said, "This is not for me. This is not going to be for me at all." And I do apologize time for any fans that don't want to hear me be negative for about an hour and 20 minutes, because that's what you're getting. I do apologize.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I think everybody involved with Mandy did this.
That movie had a better story.
Okay.
Yeah.
I came into this movie not open-minded, very close-minded, because I looked it up and I saw Nick Cage. And then I looked into the movie and I saw H.P. Lovecraft. Not that I'm not a fan of H.P. Lovecraft's work. I think he was a very talented writer, but he was a real piece of shit person.
That's true.
Look up the name of his cat. I'm not going to say it. I'm not telling you. But look up the name of his cat. He was a real piece of shit. He was a Hitler sympathizer. And so I just don't fuck with the guy. And then also Nick Cage. And I was like, God, okay. But then I saw some stills from the movie. Like those, you can't see it if you're listening to this, but the one that I have over my shoulder, I saw this picture and I was like, man, that's some stunning visuals. That's beautiful. And that is the only thing I can compliment the movie for after watching it. You guys had a good point where you said it seemed like someone doing a Nick Cage impression. I just wrote down Nick Cage overacted every scene that he was in. It didn't. It seemed like someone doing an audition for an improv class. It was very weird. His performance, because I don't like him, not because, well, I don't think he's a great actor, but that's not the reason I don't like him. It's just, like I said, he's never met a role that he would turn down, and he's been in a lot of terrible movies. Not even made for TV movies, made for just go ahead and throw your whole TV in the dumpster movies. And so I have a problem with the guy himself and all the like 8 castles that he owns across the world, but he's broke, so he's been selling them. Fuck that guy. Anyway, so then I watched the movie and I saw Tommy Chong's in it, and I'm like, okay, hell yeah, big fan.
Oh no.
Not a real. I don't have anything to criticize from his performance, but the part that was written for him, no, I don't like the character. But yeah, the dialogue is one thing. This might be the only time that I can get Nico to admit this, so I'm gonna say it, and I want him to give me audible confirmation.
No. In 4K.
Uh-oh.
Here it comes.
In 4K.
Rob Zombie.
Tell me that Rob Zombie couldn't write a better script than this. As far as dialogue goes. Nico?
I mean, I don't know.
Oh, no way.
I've never heard the term maggot dick in a Rob Zombie movie. And I heard it in this
Are
one.
you sure? I don't know. It
That
seems like Maggot
a
Dick
very
should have
Rob.
been in there.
I mean, it seems like a Rob Zombie thing to say. But it did go on too long. There wasn't enough. It took too long to get to the action. Got way too much backstory. They tried to really make you care about this family, and I just don't. There's better ways to show that. You can briefly tell the backstory, like maybe they moved out to the country to get away because they're escaping hard times. We didn't get that. We just got a fucking family dinner, or the dad's cooking some dog shit food that no one likes, and they're trying to make us relate to him that way. Nah, it just didn't work for me. But like I said, it's visually stunning and equally as bad a movie.
Nico, before you go,
respect.
hey, before you go, Nico, I do want to say real quick off the top, I know they're not partnered with us or anything like that, but I want to shout out Shudder for giving horror this kind of platform, though, because even though this movie's bad, I love that Shudder exists, and if you're listening, anyone from Shudder, if you're listening, We do take sponsorships. Thank you. All right, let's do this.
Sean,
Nick Cage's agent. I'm sorry, I'm going to retract that invitation. It doesn't sound like that.
No, I don't.
Saying yes after listening to this.
Oh, you already did it. My bad.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. I'm sick
Damn it,
that
Brian.
day anyway. You're good.
Whatever.
Oh, I wouldn't. No.
Interview
I'd
with
miss.
legendary Nick Cage. Hell yes.
Legendary.
Legendary good, legendary bad. You pick. He's still one of the biggest names.
hey Sean, thanks for donating, man. Really appreciate it. Let's jump into the scene by scene.
Nicolas Cage is like the Brutus to fucking Barber Beefcake. If I were to equate him to a wrestler, he's Brutus to Barber Beefcake.
All right. I'm so sorry, Sean. Appreciate your continued. If you still continue to support us after this, I appreciate it. The film starts with Ward's narration in the woods. Ward, he says several things, but like there are valleys with deep woods where no axe has ever cut, and when he went to the hills to survey the water, he was told the place was evil. Now we see Lavinia performing a ritual, I guess. She calls out names in front of her, behind her, and to her sides in a circle of rocks. She calls out for water, fire, earth, air, and ether as she lights her mother's hair on fire to rid her of her cancer. Her last wish is to get her out of her. Ward sneaks up on her, scaring her, and she says he's trespassing. He thought the mayor told all the homeowners about his studying of the water. She tells him her name and how she hates living here, and she rides away on her horse. We see shots of the forest and of the alpacas on the farm. Nathan asks where Lavinia, where she was, and scolds her for not wearing her helmet or boots. Mom now asks if she knows where her brother is. She tells Mom that he's probably smoking weed with Ezra. She puts the horse back in the barn, and she tells Benny she can smell the weed way out here. He asks her if she managed to curse them all with her ritual. She tells him about meeting Ward, and she thought he was cute. She now sees Jack looking into the well. If you look long enough, you'll see stars. Now we're at dinner, and Lavinia thinks it looks terrible. Teresa is upstairs doing work on the computer as Nathan calls for her to come eat. She asks him to check out the router because the internet is so weak. They make fun of her for liking McDonald's. Then he says, wait until you try that alpaca meat next year. Mom says next time I'll cook, as they all seem to agree it's not good. Nathan goes downstairs to get wine. Dad tells them it's dishes time. Now Teresa is on the porch and Nathan hugs her from behind and they talk and compare themselves to her mom and his dad. He starts to kiss her and says it's been 6 months, we should try. She doesn't think he'd still be interested in her. All those years in the big city, and we finally got out. And I did like this quote: "A dream you dream together is reality." Nighttime now. Lavinia is sleeping in a filthy bed. Benny is playing on the computer, watching like space stuff, and Nathan and Teresa are in bed. She says she feels tarnished since her surgery. Jack wakes up to creaky floors and the dog starts to whimper, and we see Benny's water shaking on the table. Jack calls out for Mommy. We now see a bright purple light in the sky. Jack walks out the door and sees the dog standing there. A bright purple light fills the house, and the alpacas begin to freak out. The lights inside the house flicker. Excuse me. We see the Necronomicon on Lavinia's bed. Benny seems stoic as the light beams in his room, and Jack screams. The parents rush to him. They go outside and see the bright purple meteor in the ground. Teresa says there's something wrong with Jack. Back inside, they check on Jack, and he's not answering them. He seems to be in shock. Dad doesn't want to go to the hospital since over an hour away. Jack finally speaks and tells Mommy his head hurts. He doesn't want to go lay down in bed. All right, Brian, that's the first few scenes if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, sure. So right off the bat, I recognized Jolie Richardson immediately from Nip Tuck. I thought she was great in that. She was significantly better on that show than here. No offense to Jolie. Would love to have you on the show sometime. But this was an issue throughout, like we kind of talked about, but particularly this dinner table scene. And Dustin kind of touched on this, but it's exactly what I was talking about in my opening with the dialogue. It's terrible. It's awkward. And it's not delivered like a family that supposedly has lived together and eaten together for years and years. It's delivered like people who just met and sat down to film a scene, and this is the first time that they've ever spoken to each other. I mean, and so this right here takes me out of this movie completely. It's so cringeworthy that I can't even focus on what I'm supposed to be focusing on here. And I respect the movie for trying to give you that character development. I'm way more forgiving than most with that. I mean, if you've listened to any of the other episodes, I'm perfectly fine with slow parts, especially at the beginning, if it gives you that character development. But if you're going to do that and devote entire sections of this movie that depend on that, you've got to have better dialogue. I mean, you've got to have more engaging delivery, to me, in my opinion. And maybe this is on purpose. Maybe it's some stylistic thing that I just don't get. But maybe I'm an idiot because but these actors and actresses are good. I mean, despite what you think about Nick Cage, I've seen them in other stuff where they have been really good. And so it's just, regardless, it was just cringeworthy and bad to me. And a little fun fact: around 3 minutes, when Lavina is making a Wiccan ritual, by asking Mother's health and her own liberty out of Arkham, she names Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Michael. And actually, in the Jewish tradition of Christianity, and Christianity, there are 4 of the 7 archangels. So just a little fun fact there. I would like to say that it's unrealistic that Lavina is asleep with dirty plates of food and books and just shit all over her bed, and she's like folded all around them. But little fun fact here: when I dated my wife, she would sleep like this with just random shit all in the bed, like clothes and hangers and just shit. So, and her
Women are gross.
When I would go over to her apartment, so trust me, this is not unrealistic at all.
I mean, yeah.
But anyway, lastly, once the thing lands and the magenta color happens, I've been jokingly referring to this movie as like the color purple the whole time. But like the set of scenes gets better, but the whole foundation of this group of scenes is that dialogue and delivery that just stood out a lot more than the ending that was actually good here. I as a whole, the first half of this movie to me, if I wasn't reviewing it, I would have turned it off. Now, I do like the last half, but this first half is to me very slow and dragging.
I'll give you that one.
All right. So, one positive. I am going to start with a positive. I know you're not expecting that. The intro is creepy, and I think it has good cinematography, the way that, it's shot, the shots that the camera gets. Like Dustin mentioned, it is visually stunning, some of the stuff that's in this movie. So I will give it that right off the bat. I think with the voiceover and everything else, I think that's interesting. Then we get into the actual movie where she's doing this witch dance, and she looks like the mom from the Disney film Tangled, which is not a compliment. You mentioned the Archangels, which I also had, but it sounded more like she was calling out the names of the Ninja Turtles. Or Ariel for the Little Mermaid. So that's what that sounded like to me. I don't want to make light of why she's doing this ritual, though. This just isn't my cup of tea. I mean, obviously she had a reason behind it, and it's what she buys into and believes in, and that's okay. But yeah, the pentagram on the foot, ooh, scary. Like, I don't know, that kind of stuff's just a very big, little too on the nose for me. Then we get Nicolas Cage's introduction, and I wrote right here, this is what happens when you steal the Declaration of Independence. You end up in this movie, or you end up out in the middle of the sticks, in the middle of nowhere. This is what happens when you go and steal a legal government document, especially an old one. My man Benny and the Jets was in the stalls getting high, getting all the animals high. No wonder this asteroid thing hit their land, man. Come on, dude.
Are you saying the marijuana is going to bring aliens?
I'm saying the marijuana is bringing us down, brother.
Wow.
No. So these kids have some interesting names, to say the least. My favorite is Benny and the Jets. Look, it's a very apparent that Nick Cage can not only act, but he can't cook either, because it looked like dog turds in that bowl. I don't get the whole alpacas thing. Is there something that I'm missing from the original short story that, as far as importance with the alpacas? Because if not, why are we milking and eating alpacas? That's stupid. That's stupid.
I like this movie, and I completely agree with you. I don't understand.
Okay, and you can't tell me the line that he goes down into the basement cellar thing, whatever that is, and says, This smells of conspiracy. That's too on the nose with National Treasure. You can't convince me otherwise. You know exactly why he said that. That's what I got from it anyway. I have wrote right here something we already kind of touched on. What's the character that Nicolas Cage is he supposed to be portraying here? I can't really tell. I know he's the dad, the patriarch of this family or whatever, but it's like he's, like Dustin said, like he's in an improv class. It's very weird. And look, if the man was good, I'd say it. I don't have anything against him. Like I said, I love the first National Treasure. I don't hate Con Air. So when he's good, I would say it. But this is just, I don't know what he's supposed to be here. He's making funny voices, and he's almost like a stay-at-home husband or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's a very weird character to me. And again, in the weird lighting, we got to see Nicolas Cage's bare ass for like a half a second, and I was like, that's not okay. We didn't ever need to see that. Oh, go back and watch it, fellas. Or don't. Yeah, this movie puts new meaning to the word asteroid. That's all I'm going to say.
I would have expected that out of Brian, not you. Jesus.
You love it. Brian loved it.
I'm rubbing off on people.
Clearly.
That's all I got.
All right. No. Oh, the alpacas, the amount of times I have written down in my notes just alpacas in capital letters is ridiculous because they weren't in the original story. Then again, the original story was the guy interviewing a guy who saw what happened. Now, I like the opening scene with the narration over the really creepy woods because I've seen woods like that where it just looks like evil shit could start happening any time now. Great opening. Lavinia doing her little ritual, like good intentions there, and then she immediately ruins it by being kind of a bitch. It's to a ward, and then she tries to be all sweet again.
That part's actually expected to me because if I see a bitch out in the woods doing witchcraft, I expect her to be a bitch. It's the rest of her from that point on that I'm like, what the fuck? Why is she being nice to him? Anyway, go ahead.
No, also, it's also poor dialogue, so that didn't help their case. Oh, sorry.
No, you're both right. You're both right there. No, he starts talking to her. It's like about the ritual, which style it is, which I don't really know why it mattered because that never came up again, and about why that style. Nick Cage cooking. Lord, did that look awful? I'm going to agree with everyone here, and I feel bad for the dog because she fed him the food. One other thing that just bothered me is I've lived out in the middle of nowhere and had to use satellite internet. She is doing way too well on that internet. She would be cussing that thing out every 5 seconds. And that just took me out of the movie for a second. Like, there is no way you're going that smoothly. I'm glad Mike said something about the freaking sex scene because Nick Cage trying to dirty talk was just the most cringiest thing I've ever seen. And it's just like, why is this necessary? I'm out smoking with the alpacas. What else are you going to do with the alpacas? Because you can't really do anything except smoke weed with the alpacas.
Apparently you can milk them like fucking Greg Burns from the goddamn Meet the Parents.
That was, again, why that was necessary, I don't know. But overall, I enjoy the opening scenes. It is a little slow, and the family's a little weird at times, but I had fun with it.
So, I'm glad you enjoyed them. The set of scenes. So it starts off, man, this girl is fucking weird. She's out if I roll up on a girl in the middle of the woods casting a spell, I'm not sticking around like him. Like he stays there watching, then he's way too nice to her. I'm just turning around and leaving because nothing but bad shit can be. I don't care if that's my job. I'm supposed to be out there surveying. I'll come back when she's not there. Fuck that. But then the rest of the movie, they tried to make this weird odd couple thing work with them. Oh, he was cute. And then her grabbing his hand to lead him when they're walking. Are you looking at my legs? This is later on. And like the flirting they do, the sexual tension that's there between them. That doesn't work for me. That is the oddest couple that you could ever put together. Like a weird goth witchy girl. No offense to any weird goth witchy girls that listen to this show. But I just don't see them with this clean-cut, nerdy guy that's just out there to survey the water. Like, I don't know. It didn't work for me. Then they get back to the house, and it's just, man, it went on too long. You got the dialogue from Nick Cage. Where's your boots? Where's your helmet? Your mother's going to be mad, blah, blah, blah. Don't need it. Don't care. It just, they tried to make us, like I said, connect to this family, and it didn't work. Another thing that they tried that didn't work was they tried to make the bad internet connection a big deal, and it just wasn't. We deal with bad internet connection every week. We got Mike Settle on this show. We know it's not that big of a deal. And so every time that the mom is in there working, she's like, this fucking router, blah, blah, blah. Lady, we record a show weekly. Mike and I record 2 shows weekly. You'll get over it.
Mike would say something in retort here, but he's been kicked off already, so I don't know where Mike is.
Yeah, he'll rejoin us when his dial-up starts back up.
But movie again because he actually enjoys it.
And then we get a Nick Cage.
Hey, fuck you guys! I heard every word, you pieces of shit.
Oh, welcome back.
Hey, Brian, edit that out. So, anywho, next we get a Nicolas Cage sex scene, and I damn near turned off my TV and threw it out my front door. And I almost didn't finish the movie. I almost called in sick for this episode because the last thing I want to see in this world is Nick Cage try to be sexy. I'm comfortable enough with my sexuality to where I can watch sex scenes in movies and not like be grossed out. Just something about Nicolas Cage being sexual gives me the heebie-jeebies. But then later, though, we get this brilliant color. And this is what I was talking about. Hey, here's a compliment. This is like a shit sandwich. There's a lot of bad. I'm going to sneak in some good. And then we'll do bad for the other piece of the bread. The color and the visuals in this is incredible. I love the light coming through the windows and the light on the reflection of the skin as they're laying in their beds and canoodling. I love the bright flash. That's all great. And it also gives you hope because when this shit happens, when the meteor lands, you think, all right, from here on, I know I just suffered through a long dinner scene and an opening scene that really was unnecessary. But from here on, it's business is booming, right? Like shit's going to be at a fast pace. False advertising. It slows back down. We still have a ways to go before we get into the real shit. But other than that, I mean, it's not the worst opening scene that we've reviewed, honestly. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I know there's been movies that I'm just like, God, it's just so slow and nothing really happens. At least we get something in this. It's just they tried too hard, in my opinion.
Oh, man. The next day, the sheriff and the mayor show up. Nathan can't stop coughing from how bad the smell is. Sheriff says something metallic is down there. Nathan now tells the mayor what happened. It was a sonic boom in a color he had never seen before emitted. Ward shows up to Lavinia's delight. She introduces him to Nathan, and he seems defensive. The mayor asks Ward if she has any idea what happened. He says he thinks it's a meteorite. Mayor tells Sheriff, we need to get the press here, and Nathan asks if there's a doctor nearby. But she's bitchy and says he can try Arkham, and he should have sold the place to her when he had the chance. Nathan asks Lavinia to go inside and check on her mom. She doesn't want to leave Ward. Mom asks her about Ward, then she says she likes him. She said it was obvious. Benny asks if the meteor is radioactive or has a virus attached to it. Nathan says it's time to milk the alpacas, to Ward's surprise. He explains the milking process and offers him a sample. Lavinia is in her room crying after what her mom said about her appearance. Ward asks if there is anyone else on the property he can talk to. He tells him of Ezra. Benny leads Ward to Ezra's house and calls for him. Ezra already knows who Ward is and asks if he wants a hit. Ward seems sketched out from the coffee and doesn't drink it. Ward says the water shouldn't be doing this right now, and he offers to run a test on a sample. It now rains and lightning continues to strike where the meteor crashed. Nathan runs outside to Lavinia and they watch the lightning strikes. Ward does a test on the water, and now the signal of the radio goes out, and he gets a phone call. It's all static. Then he hears like leaves rustling. He goes to check it out and sees weird color in the light. All of a sudden, his truck cuts on its own. He goes to check it out, and it just shuts off. Now the radio cuts back on to some old school tunes. Nathan and Teresa discover the meteor just disappeared, and Nathan asks if she planted the flowers by the well, and she hadn't. The press shows up now. News has headlines of UFO reporting. Nathan start Nathan starts tweaking as the news is skewed. Teresa is cooking dinner and cracks open a disgusting looking egg. She starts to cut veggies as Nathan asks for her to come in the room. The news makes it seem like he's crazy. Jack goes in to get Teresa, and she cuts two fingers off as she zones out. Blood splashes on Jack's face, and she waves at them, saying dinner's ready. And I thought that was a cool, I thought that was a cool scene when she waves at him. The visual of it. Nathan appoints Benny as man of the house and get the alpacas inside by 10 as Nathan takes the wife to the hospital. All right, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, Dustin kind of mentioned this, but this is kind of the second end here of the more awkwardness here in the acting with Lavina and Ward. Just seemed so bizarre and unnatural. I will say Ward's Elliot Knight, is known for stints, on Titans, which I like, and How to Get Away with Murder. My wife actually watches that quite a lot, and he does a fantastic job there. So I wanted to point that out too. So he does a good job in this as well. I don't, I don't know. Just the scene, it just seems so overdone. Like Lavina getting, like super upset and crying over barely anything. The weird milk scene that just reminded me, kind of what we talked about earlier with the line from Meet the Parents. That I had that written down in my notes right there too. But here's some good. I'll say the scene with the lightning strike, the meteorite. I really liked it. The music, the sound. I really enjoyed the whole thing. Again, something I wish that they would have done more in this movie is play with that sound a little bit more. It's rare that you get a movie like this that kind of plays with all of your senses the way that this one does. But I don't feel like that it did it enough for me. But when it did do it, it was very well done. I thought bravo there, like Teresa with the eggs. I thought, oh, that generated a gross sensation from me, like him drinking the alpaca milk. I thought, oh God, that's gross. But other than that, like, I mean, for example, when Nathan and Teresa are standing over the meteorite hole, like there's literally, I timed it 13 seconds of just panning across the meteorite hole, panning a different way, and then panning up to Nick Cage and Teresa, to start talking some more, just with some pretty much meaningless dialogue right there. It just jugs so much until she chops her fingers off. And by the way, wow, you finally take someone to the hospital. God knows your fucking kid didn't need to go to the hospital in the last set of scenes. But okay, we'll leave that there. But Teresa, yeah, let's take her to the hospital. Anyway, I'll just leave it with this little fun fact here. You can take it however you would like to take it. But a little fun fact is Richard Stanley's favorite movie of Nicolas Cage is Vampire's Kiss, which I have not seen, from 1988. He asked Cage to use the same style of performance. So I'll just leave that for good or bad right there in that little thing. That's all.
Okay. I'm never watching Vampire's Kiss. I can promise you that.
It's
all right.
worse than this.
Listen, by the way, earlier I said Greg Burns when it came to Meet the Parents. I combined Jack and Greg's names, which, sorry, I have nipples, Greg, can you milk me? But Jack Burns does deliver the line. So, started course correct there because I know my Meet the Parents and I flubbed up. I got excited. All right. First of all, the police show up. Why in the hell do you tell the police right upon arrival that you were doing the no pants dance last night? What importance is that to this situation? None. That was some inept ass police work, which we expect in horror movies. Like they come,
unless
they kind of yell.
Dewey.
Hold on, you didn't let me finish. I said, can someone please find Deputy Dewey so we can make sense of all this? Because it's all good.
I had to interject right there because I thought you were going to shit on Deputy Dewey.
No.
Had I known you were giving him his flowers, I would have shut up. My bad.
I was shitting on Deputy Dewey.
Well, he's better than these sorry ass police. I can tell you that much right now. I'd much rather have Dewey and Gale on the case, more so Gale. I'd much rather have Dewey and Gale on the case than these idiots. Okay. Here we are about 30 minutes into the film, and I really don't know what's going on. Now, maybe I'm dumb. Maybe this is one of those smart horror movies I don't think so. But it's one of those smart horror movies that everyone talks about where there's a story behind the story and you got to really dig in to find it. Okay, fine. I don't have a clue what's going on about 30 minutes in, except there's a daughter that's a witch and there's a purple light thing that hit the ground. Like, I mean, I really don't know what's happening. Again, with the weird names, Ezra. I mean, what's better than Ezra? Ha! Thank you, thank you, thank you. Uh, Almost like his weed must be good. Wow. Okay, sorry, I just mixed Tommy Chong and 90s soft alternative. You're very welcome. If I'm this hydrologist, I'm not knocking on this door again. I'm getting the fuck out of here, man. Ward, if I'm Ward, I'm out. Okay, and I would kick my witch daughter out of the house too at this point because I would suspect her being up to all this weirdness. As this movie can't get any worse, it looks like the car is possessed too, which is just the worst thing a movie can do. That hole in the ground looks. Don't you come on here. Don't you let me have my time. As this movie, hey, look, that hole left by the asteroid, it looks like it was dug by Stanley Yelnats. And I know that Nick Cage was mad about his hair, but a comb couldn't save that piece. I know he had that piece glued on. You can't deny it. And that there was no comb to save that thing. And the whole cut off her fingers thing, I actually thought was interesting. I thought maybe this is where the movie kind of turns a little bit of a corner. It did not. It went basically absolutely nowhere. So yeah, that's all I have.
Okay, right here, I'll agree with you that Deputy Dewey would make more sense. But towards the end of the movie, I think he did smarter things than Deputy Dewey. Not a ton. And for the first thing I have written down is this mayor is a bitch, and I can't stand her. Like, you just come up onto somebody whose front yard is destroyed, and the first thing out of your mouth was, "Well, you should have sold to me when you had the chance." Like, no amount of empathy at all. Like, wow, you are greedy. Hey, Brian said, or Dustin, one of you two, probably both of you said, the weird flirting with Ward and Lavinia. It didn't make sense. It didn't have any payoff, and it was just kind of creepy because they don't say how old she is in this movie, and she doesn't look that old. And he looks
Exactly.
He looks to be about 30-ish, and it's just weird. And I would have preferred not. The movie does make up for itself by having Tommy Chong in the set of scenes, and I like his character. Character is interesting. I hate his cat's name, but as Dustin said earlier, it's better than the real life Lovecraft's cat's name.
Yeah.
Gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm not telling you. Like I said, I'm not saying it.
That's probably for the best.
I'm about to go look this up live.
Do not say it on the air. I'm just gonna wait for his reaction because this is gonna be great. But alpacas, as we have already shit on them enough, but I don't care.
Oh my god! Don't go look that up. All right.
Wow. He's a real piece of shit.
Yep. Not a good person. Great writer, terrible person.
Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, Sean. Wow.
Yep. We warned you.
You did. You're right.
No, one thing I did think was cool on the way down to Tommy Chong, you could already start to see stuff going weird. You could see the weird color growing on the trees and on the vines next to the house. You're like, oh, that doesn't belong there. Air shit's getting weird already. And I love the color because it is in the book, it's described as something completely indescribable. And this is about as close as you're going to be able to get to an indescribable color because it says magenta, but it's not just magenta. It's a weird mixture of colors that looks really pretty, especially when you have the lightning striking the meteorite in the middle of these scenes and just her out in the rain standing at it. Great shot. Really pretty. I wish they would have kept more of that. The whole press conference I could have done without. It was weird. It was awkward. Or it was just like, what's the point of this press conference? There, other than to just make fun of Nick Cage and have him be incredibly cringy. My wife's over here in the background just nodding her head along like she hated these scenes too. I do like that they start early with the weirdness in the water because that was the whole point of the story. It was don't drink the freaking water. And he starts off like, okay, fine, I'll run a sample, which is what a hydrologist would do. He's actually doing his job there, not staring at a meteorite.
Yeah.
Okay. One question I have, which after we watched it this afternoon, and my wife for the third time, me for the sixth time, why do they even have a squatter in the first place? Like, why is this man just living on their property? And crazy ass cabin, cameras everywhere. It's like, what is the point of him being there other than to do weird things with the story?
Yeah, I kind of expected him to be the person that would tell us what was going on, like the delivery method to the audience. Like, all right, this guy's weird. This guy's going to tell us what was going on. No, he didn't. He just basically, don't do the marijuanas.
Yeah. But I can't blame this kid, Benny, because if you get the chance to smoke with Tommy Chong, you're going to take the chance to smoke with Tommy Chong.
Fair.
Other than that, this was an interesting set of scene, and especially with the weird noise, as you brought it up, leading up to her chopping off her fingers, going back and forth between the press conference and her chopping the carrots, or it's up into her waving, and that was really well done. I thought it was like, oh, that's not okay. And that actually was like, okay, this could get a little weird now, and that's really all I got for these scenes.
All right, so start off. Like I said before, the meteor looks great because I want to give props to everything that's visual in this movie. Like, I think that even when the color isn't present and it's just regular, I think that the movie's shot really well. The cinematography is great, in my opinion. The lighting's good. The angles are great. I like how everything is shot. All right, That's out of the way. I didn't need to see him milking a damn alpaca because even he found a way to make that creepy. But there's other movies that I've watched where they're milking an animal, and it just doesn't seem as unnerving as the way Nicolas Cage was caressing that alpaca teeth.
In the feed.
Didn't need that. Ezra is an interesting character to me, kind of like what you guys said. And Brian, I'll take you a step further. You said you thought he was going to be the catalyst, like the way that we find out what's going on, really. I thought he was going to be the one that conjured it all up. Like when the way that my mind immediately went to was like, oh, that's our squatter. Is like you said, Sean, why the hell do you have a squatter? What's going on? So the way that my mind works, I thought, here's a guy that's been squatting here for years and is pissed off because a new family's moving in. So he's going to conjure up some evil to clear them out. That's the reason the property was vacant in the beginning. And that would have made a lot of sense to me. But it didn't go down that way. That's fine. But like you said, Sean, I have it written down too. I like how there's subtle reminders or hints all the way through the movie of the color. Like you see the color on the trees and on the like I like that because it's not in your face and overpowering. Like even when the kid's looking down, Jack is that name, the little kid, when he's looking down the well. Yeah. The color is visible down the well, but it's not just overpowering the whole scene. And so they do a great job in that regard as well. But in regards to Ezra, I thought that his spider sense that they gave him, it should have just had his character should have had a better payoff, even if it's not how I saw it going down to where he's the reason all this shit's happening. Even if it's not how Brian said he wished it went down, where he's the one that tells it to us. It's just a kind of we meet him and it's a cool way to be like, hey, we had some extra money in the budget, so let's get Tommy Chong in the movie. That's really how I felt. That was his only purpose, was the star power of Tommy Chong, because that could have been just anyone for the role that it was. All right, so huge problem here. The mayor and the cops are there, and they're like, "Holy shit, this is a big deal. Let's call the press." But no one thought to take a fucking picture of the thing before it just magically got up and walked away. I just had a huge problem with the way they made it seem like, sir, were you drinking at the time of this? The mayor didn't even stick around to back his story up to the press, be like, no, for real, we saw it. Like I don't know, it just, that whole thing, I don't think that's how that would have went down. They probably would have had someone guarding the thing until the press got there. That way they can do the research. I don't know. That bothered me.
I think in the story they sent it off to be studied, and it just melted so that nobody could be sure of what the hell it was.
Well, okay, so that's fair. So if they do that, at least someone knows that it got sent off. Like, they just made it sound like the news came up and there's nothing there, and this guy's been hitting the marijuana with Tommy Chong. The scene back in the house, I thought was cool. Also, like you guys mentioned, the sound, I thought that was good. And then like, this is nothing to get right. I like how, like, something's off and the color is messing with our minds or something, like how the mood swings are going on and everything. And then Teresa's in the kitchen cutting carrots. She just cuts her fingers off, doesn't even flinch. I thought that was a really cool scene. But the payoff for all this, to me, it was a little. The color didn't have defined powers. I don't know if you guys watch South Park, but you know the episode where they get the martial arts toys and they pretend they're playing ninja, and all the other kids get mad at Cartman because he keeps adding these powers to himself. I feel like that's how the color is. Color just is messing, but it's not really defined.
It's an entity out of space.
No, I
what do
agree
you
with
want?
you. I do agree with you, though. The color doesn't play. I would like it to. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah, and what I mean by that is you can have infinite powers and everything and just do whatever, but it just made it hard to follow. Yeah. We don't know if Nicolas Cage is literally just being a dick to his kids because he's an asshole, or we don't know if it's because he's not himself and this isn't really him that's doing this. It just kind of jumps back and forth with no definition of what's what, and it kind of makes it hard to follow.
I agree.
So that's all I meant by that. And that's all I got on the scene. So
I think it's here, or it's either here in the previous scene, but they mentioned they're talking about Arkham and Innsmouth, both of which are references to other Lovecraft places. As there's just a lot of little Lovecraft all over the place, and I thought those were just really subtly placed and really cool if you caught them. That's all I got.
Yeah, I think that's actually in the next set of scenes because I had that written down too, where she's actually watching that weather report. Well, while the weather report's playing, while she's washing those dishes. Yeah, that's when it actually does that. So.
Right.
Jack wakes up and looks out the window. We see Benny tending to the alpacas. Lavinia calls for Benny and says Benny was supposed to feed the alpacas as they all eat on the plants outside. They call each other names as he runs to go get them back in the barn. Jack is sitting down whistling, and he shushes his sister. He says the man in the well is talking to him. She goes to walk away and stops when she hears a whistling noise. She makes it inside and her phone rings. It's Dad, but the voice is all scrambled. Jack starts to color what looks like possibly a purple man. He gets up and walks to the well and looks down. Something looks back up at Jack, and now we see a purple praying mantis. The TV signal goes out now, and Lavinia starts to do dishes. She tries her hardest not to get sick washing the knife that her mom cut her fingers off with. A bright purplish light appears, and it's 5 hours later, and she's still kind of like stoic at the sink. Bloody water overflows from the sink onto the floor. She answers her cell phone but still can't hear any voices. She runs to the toilet and pukes. Knock at the door and it's Ward. She says she's not feeling well. He tells her that the water is contaminated. She runs away to puke and he yells out not to drink the water. He sees Jack staring at the well. Jack says he's playing with his friends but no one's around. Ward walks away and sarcastically says, "Have fun." Ward walks through the woods and is back at Ezra's. Ezra doesn't answer, so Ward just lets himself inside. Ezra is inside reorganizing, and he tells Ezra he shouldn't drink the water. He says he hasn't seen his cat since it all started. He tells Ward you can hear them down there. Ezra says it's aliens under the floor. Ward says it's probably geothermal activity. Everything is the opposite, basically. Ward walks out telling him to stick to bottled water. Nathan and Teresa are heading back home, and he's singing opera, and she feels stupid for cutting her fingers off. They slam brakes when, like a holographic cat appears in the road. Teresa calls home to no answer. Jack is still outside staring at the well. A bright purple light shines at them again, and Sam, the dog, is pissed and charges towards it. Jack is in a trance. Lavinia sits up, and Benny's computer shuts off while she stares at it. Benny says he's got lost out there. Time changed on him. She answers the phone, and the voices are still scrambled. The lights flicker and ask, "Where's Jack?" The parents get home and scold the older siblings, and they tell them something weird is going on. The alpacas are out again, and Nathan is pissed. Benny asks if they should warn him. He puts them in the barn and calls for Sam. He complains that he has no help, and the kids say Dad's acting weird. Lavinia says whatever is fucking this place up must have gotten Sam. He goes off on Lavinia and walks off. She tells Benny they need to get out of here. All right, go ahead, Brian.
So Jack and Lavina get a really good scene here. I felt like the acting was on point. It felt natural for one of the first times in this movie. And I didn't get a chance to say it, but Julian Hilliard, friend of the show, Julian Hilliard, he has a connection to Nick Cage besides this little piece of trivia. he gives you about his time, on set in this movie whenever he did the intro for this episode. But Hilliard's the son of Arian Martin, who played Cage's daughter in Drive Angry in 2011. So just a little fun fact there. Hilliard's also from Conjuring 3, and which we reviewed, and Haunting of Hill House, which we will review on DougGoOutThere.com. The CGI, especially in the mantis creature thing, I mean, it's not great, but as we review movies from all points in history, it's become pretty easy for me to overlook that kind of stuff, especially when you take into account like the small budget on this thing. And for the most part, I think they do a good job with the effects, especially at the end. It feels more like 90s effects throughout the rest of the movie in that regard, instead of 2019. And not so hot take. These set of scenes actually flow a whole lot smoother and keep my interest with nothing really taking me out of it, because Nicolas Cage is not in them. And that's just the truth. Lastly,
there you go, Brian.
The cat creature, the jump scare was a good one as well. And props to the makeup department. I mean, you can see all the kids and the wife, they're gradually becoming more pale and sickly looking. And but when Cage gets back and has that little blow up at Lavina and Benny, I don't even know what that was. I mean, I seriously think that was completely awful. And to me,
exactly.
We talked. I said in the opening it was like Nick Cage doing an impression of Nick Cage, but this to me I actually wrote down it was like Jim Carrey as Ace Ventura was doing an impression of Nicolas Cage. It was just like the way that he was delivering that. Seriously, it made me laugh. I was like, what the hell? And we've seen good performances of descents into madness. I mean, we've talked about that many times. We've reviewed good descents into madness. I don't even know what the hell this was. It was so inconsistent all over the place. But that's all I had on this set of scenes.
So much Nick Cage blasphemy.
And I actually like Nick Cage.
And I'm about to add some more because he's awful in this set of scenes. The little part that he's in, he's horrendous. So before we get to I'll call it a grasshopper. I don't really know what you call that thing. The movie really has lost me, even with the cutting of the fingers. And we're about 50 minutes in. Okay, I'm all for a slow burn, but you got to give me something. Then we finally do get something, and it's the creepy looking grasshopper alien straight out of a John Carpenter movie. And like you said, Brian, I actually thought it was fine. Like, I didn't think the CGI was terrible there. It wasn't so bad. I like that. I do like the fact that the color purple, still fun to say, the color purple, warps time in a way where she's standing at the scene one moment and then the next time it's 5 hours later. Like, I'm okay with that, but but there's no strict rules to what this light does. It bugs me because I feel like you could get something really good out of it. I just feel like they dropped the ball, or the story itself drops the ball. Hey, there's no wonder this water is bad. They're in bumfuck Egypt, and their dad milks alpacas. So again, I know it's this asteroidy thing, but I mean, they're not in a place where I'm sure the well water is super great anyway. But I will say this. Here's one more positive. I'm going to squeeze a positive in. The kid playing Jack, I think, does a pretty good job at being a creepy kid in this set of scenes. And I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but I think it is really good. It's not over the top. It's very subtle. I think it's really good. Look, Tommy Chong didn't have to do this to himself. He didn't have to put himself in this movie. He did not have to take this role. This role made me retroactively hate most of other Tommy Chong's movies, because I'm mad at him for accepting this role and being in this movie. It is super dramatic. It is super dramatic. I'm not even 100% sure that I mean it, but I'm saying it right now. Let the record show retroactively. I'm mad at you, Tommy Chong. I don't believe this. By the way, the character still has a freaking Memorex. That's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
And this cat looks like Pink Panther on meth, which I thought wasn't super scary. But I did like the jump scare itself. I didn't think it was a bad jump scare at all. I'm not a fan of these gargled voices or whatever, because most of the time when you get a movie that has this kind of like alien or like The Fourth Kind, for instance, you can kind of make out what they're trying to say. In this set of scenes, it just sounds like somebody's using mouthwash and they're spitting it into the sink. Like it does. Like I, it's just gargled up voices for the hell of it, and I don't like that. And we talked about good descents into madness, which I probably overused on this show. My apologies. But this is not a good descent into madness, a la Amityville. And I'm not talking about the original one. That wasn't super great either. But we've seen characters lose their mind on screen, and we love that. We love when it's done really well. Nick Cage acts like he's in a Looney Tune with Wile E. Coyote, man. It's very it's over the top. It's not good. It's funny. If that's the route we're going, okay. But I have a feeling that everyone involved in this movie took it very seriously, and guess what? It was freaking terrible.
All right, question for you. Would you rather be watching this movie or Fourth Kind? Because I hated Fourth Kind.
Fourth Kind all day. And that movie's not great.
Really
I
not.
haven't even seen it, Sean, but I love you, but I know I'll like it if you hate it.
Dude, I turned Fourth Kind off. I hated it so bad. With like 30 minutes left, I thought that movie was terrible. That doesn't mean I'd pick this over it though.
See, Nico, I'm jealous of you because you shut it off before you got to the god awful ending.
Oh well, everything up to it was god awful.
It's better than this god awful ending. I know that. Jesus Christ.
Okay, I love the ending to this movie because
spoiler alert, I like the ending too, so I don't know where you came up with that. All right, let's go.
All right, so once again, the first thing I have written down in my notes is alpacas. It's because, God damn it, with these alpacas, I don't understand the necessity of zooming in on them drinking the water. I thought that was really weird because they weren't really drinking. It's just like, what am I watching here? I think this is about the point of the movie. When I watched it the first time, I actually watched it without Sarah, and she was just kind of trying to do her own thing in the background. And this is the part where she just closed her computer and just started watching it because she was so confused about what was going on. It just sucked her in. She wanted to know what the hell is happening.
I don't blame her one bit.
She also likes this movie less than me.
Never mind.
Probably significantly less than me, but anyways, back to this. Jack just sitting there playing with the man in the well, and you just see Lavinia just sit down and be like, okay, I don't know if he's screwing with me or not. You just see this weird look on her face. She's like, sure, why not? And then Ward comes up, that whole interaction. My favorite part about Ward right here is when he comes up on the little kid going, I'm playing with my friends. He's just like, cool, have fun. He's like, I'm getting a little creeped out by everything that's getting on. It's like, I just want to do my job, warn these people, and get the hell out of here. Which is what he should be doing, is not being involved in here. One thing I do love in this movie is every time they have somebody looking up from the well, I always thought is really cool shots, especially right here, or when you see the slight tint of color looking up at Jack going into that weird praying mantis acid trip.
I bet this movie would be much more enjoyable if I were on acid.
Tommy Chong can't find the G-spot. God damn it.
Yeah,
that was a stupid joke, but it made me laugh. So, whatever. He's like, you can find her, but you won't recognize her. At that point, I'm pretty sure Ezra's like completely gone, lost to the color at this point. Like, there's no redeeming. He drinks more water than anybody else in this, and he probably smokes with it too. So, so he knows more. I'll agree with Mikey on the garbled voices. It was weird. It was unnecessary. I'm gonna agree with the rest of you on this scene too. Nick Cage snapping on the kids didn't make any sense because he hasn't been around it as much to be affected by whatever's in the water as much. So I don't know why he goes crazier faster than anybody else because he's been away. And it's hard to tell if the kids are trying not to laugh at how ridiculous the rant is, because it is ridiculous. As him yelling about the alpacas. and he's the only one who does anything around here. But you get to see more, or the scenery being affected by the color, and that's cool because the color looks amazing, and it looks really, really pretty. And that's all I got on these scenes.
All right, so yeah, I'll keep mine kind of short and sweet. The alpacas being back loose after they were already put up, that's just another example of what I was talking about, how the powers of the color not being well refined and defined, because it's hard to follow. It's like, okay, did the alpacas just get back out, or is this guy tripping? He really put them up. And so it's just another one of those examples. Like, I wish they made it more obvious that shit's like, happening the way it is. Ward being there again to check on him and tell him not to drink the water. This seems too unlikely. This guy should not be this invested in strangers, especially this, as late at night as he's doing, like going over there and just. Number one, if all this weird shit's happening and I'm getting real freaked out, I'm just gonna leave. I'm going back home. And I'll send someone that's on a different pay scale than me to come check on it when the daylight is out, because at night this shit's getting creepy. But whatever. I guess we don't have a horror movie then. Nathan snapping on Lavinia. That's another example of what I was talking about. It makes you think, okay, that's just the colors fucking with him. But then he goes inside and he explains to Teresa, I don't think I'm getting you Father of the Year awards. I just snapped on Lavinia. So that's like, okay, well, he's in his right state of mind. I don't understand, because like when they said we couldn't understand you when you called, and they're like, oh no, we tried calling, we couldn't get through. So it's like, okay, they weren't really doing that. That was the color manipulating things and looking at these kids that, that's the garbled voices wasn't really them calling. So they had no idea. But now all of a sudden he's very conscious and aware of that. He snapped on Lavinia. So that's what I'm talking about. It's just like the powers and the definition of what's going on is not evident enough to make me keep up with this movie. And I'll admit, I only watched this movie once. Usually I always watch it once, and then the day of or the day before we review it, I'll watch it one more time. I just couldn't bring myself to do that on this one. So,
would you rather watch this or Terrifier?
Terrifier. Note the lack of hesitation in my voice. And y'all know how I hate that movie. Side note, I had a dream about Terrifier the other night. Nico, when you posted that TikTok of your unboxing, you got Terrifier on Blu-ray. I dreamt about Terrifier that night. I dreamt that I was trapped in a house, and he wasn't trying to kill me. He was trying to kill all the women that were in the house too, but I was like his ally. And then I tricked him, and I freed the girls. And I've never been so disappointed that I dreamt about hot girls, because that's all I did. I just helped them. I didn't get no reward. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. You can't end on a joke. Come on, man. Nathan storms into Jack's room and he tells Teresa he blew up on Lavinia and he won't win Father of the Year awards. She says she's just at that age. Nathan's in the shower and he grabs. Here's some more Nick Cage nudity for you, Dustin. Nathan's in the shower and he grabs this weird thing. I don't know what it is. Nathan complains of an awful smell again. Nathan says Teresa should know the death and hospital smell. That was kind of messed up. My man is tweaking, then says everything will be A-okay. Nathan is picking veggies and can't stop scratching his wrist. Teresa is back on the computer and the connection goes out. She snaps on him about the satellite and he starts slamming all the vegetables in the trash can because they still don't taste right. He sits down and pours himself a bourbon and watches TV. He notices his skin is really dried out and looks old. Jack wakes up and leaves the bed, and we now see Lavinia packing up to leave, and she starts to read the Necronomicon. Jack goes into the living room to see his dad asleep, and we see like a figure in the TV static. Jack goes outside and sits with Benny. Lavinia now starts up another ritual. She starts to cut herself, and Jack and Benny walk towards the barn. They go in the barn and hear the alpacas freaking out, and they see the animals have mutated. Teresa grabs Jack, and they're shot with beams of light. Nathan just casually walks towards the chaos. They're inside now, and they can't get phone reception. He asks Lavinia what she did to herself. Lavinia now sees that Teresa and Jack are like morphed together. The next day, Nathan starts tweaking in the car when it won't crank up. He looks around his property and it's got flowers growing and purple lighting everywhere, which is Dustin's background, which was a very beautiful shot. Lavinia tells Benny it looks like Mom is trying to absorb Jack's body. She tells Benny that thing from the meteor changes everything around it. Dad tells everyone the car isn't happening. He doesn't know what he believes in anymore. They're prone to sunlight, so they carry them upstairs to the attic. Mom and Jack can't stop shaking, crying, and they can't talk anymore. The screeching gets louder and louder from the alpacas. Nathan gets a shotgun and talks out loud it will leave his family alone. He goes into the barn and sees the mutated alpacas and opens fire on them. He begins to cry as he kills his prized alpacas. Mom drinks water and Benny comments the shooting has stopped and hopes Dad is okay. Dad walks back in the attic and asks them both to go downstairs. He tells them he's going to handle it. Lavinia asks, like you did the alpacas. He tells them to get out. Benny drags out Lavinia as she apologizes to Mom and Jack. Nathan now tells Teresa he tried his best. He points the gun at her face, then squats down and kisses her and says, "You'll always be my golden lady." He says he's going to get her some help, and he walks out of the room. And the next two scenes are ending. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, we have an hour left of this movie at this point. And I was like, why? Like I didn't understand it. And it's not because of what's left, in my opinion, it's because of what's come before that should have been cut to death. But this set of scenes to me, it does drag at the very beginning before it really kind of, starts to kick off, which is frustrating because there's a lot of really good here. Especially in the first part, it just, like I said, it kind of drags a little bit. Lillian cutting herself, I thought was very well done. I liked how it was intertwined with Jack and Nathan's stuff. You get huge, Thing vibes, with the alpacas there. And I understand they probably, couldn't really afford to make them look really, fantastic, kind of like the effects and the Thing. But I think they did a really good enough job disguising that with, like keeping them in the dark and just illuminating, what the flashlight was seeing. In the same regard, them holding off on showing you Jack and Teresa fused together until Lavina walked in. I thought that was definitely smart. It gave you a little bit of anticipation, and I thought they did a good job there with the effects of those two being fused as well. I thought it looked very good. In an interview, Cage said that he took inspiration from Jack Nicholson's performance in Five Easy Pieces, 1970, especially in the car freakout scene here. Now, I'm going to say he should have probably taken some inspiration from another Nicholson film about slipping into madness, like, The Shining, maybe. Just saying,
good movie.
He probably looked for, the wrong Nicholson performance there. The best scene in the movie to me is right here, where Nathan is going to shoot Teresa and Jack. I thought it was amazing acting from Madeline and Brandon Meyer, who I haven't said Meyer's name yet, but honestly, I thought he did a very good job acting. But in this whole set of scenes, you really feel the tension, and not knowing what's going to happen here. And Madeline did such a great job in this set of scenes and in the next set of scenes as well. That's all I had.
Yeah, I don't have a lot here. But I found Nick Cage eating the vegetables and spitting them out and dunking them in the garbage can like he was an NBA player. I thought that was hilarious. And just cuckoo bananas. I thought that was funny. I don't know if it was supposed to be, but it was. Yeah, you mentioned Lavinia the cutting scene. I thought that was a brutal scene in a good way. A very, kind of hard to watch, and I thought that was done really well. I thought that was shot really well, very creepy and very realistic for, the budget they had. I thought that was done really well. Man, how come all these movies have to keep fucking with the dog, man? My main man Michael Myers does it. This movie does it. What's wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people? You know what I mean? You horror people. I'm not gonna lie. Jack and the mom being melted together like a 3 a.m. patty melt at the Waffle House was gross. I thought it was. This is the point of the movie where it gets a little too out there for me. I can handle a lot, and I'm not against the movie being out there, but man, you're asking a lot out of me to have this son and mom melted together or fused together, or whatever you call it. Again, Nicolas Cage made me laugh by yelling "cocksucker" over and over again in the car. I can't take this man seriously. I know he's losing his mind, but I can't take it seriously. All I can do is laugh. The mom just squelches on the couch in the back, and I'm just the noise gives me the heebie-jeebies. He he keeps saying, "You leave my family alone now." He has this little Liam Neeson moment there. I don't. He gets a gun and you leave my family alone now. Like just very Liam Neeson. Look, milking alpacas is a lot better than shooting deformed outer space alpacas. Dead alpacas are creepy as hell, man. Those are some creepy looking animals with their eyes. This fake blood on Nicolas Cage's face is horrendous. It's absolutely dreadful. It looks like the kind from Saw 3D, and that's not a compliment. This is probably the nastiest kiss I've ever seen, and we
Agreed.
thought that we saw that when we watched 28 Weeks Later, but this was a million times worse. This is just disgusting. So he was hornier than that guy from 28 Weeks Later. That's all I got.
I didn't have a lot on these scenes either, Eric, but one of my biggest complaints about this scene is one, what he's saying to his wife. I've immediately after like, shit, I screwed up. I'm a terrible dad. And what he says to her is really, really fucked up. Like, why would you say that to her? Eric? And it probably would have had more impact with me if it wasn't for whatever the hell that voice he was using was. I hated that. It made no sense. It was out of place. It didn't really make him sound crazy. It just made him sound annoying. Him in the shower with the weird jellyfish thing. I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. So there's actual things now out. But as for the mom and Jack, it makes me uncomfortable every time I see it. It's not okay, which is really good because the makeup department did really good on that. Just being like, oh, this is horrendous. And then they ruin it by having Nick Cage kiss her. It's just like gross. Oh, so them trying to talk was good because the more they did with just them being in that horrible situation, the better it was. And since they had just left it right there, it'd have been fine. And I honestly think he should have killed them right then and there. Just be like, okay, put you out of your misery instead of locking you in the attic. The Lavinia scarring herself. My problem with this is in the Lovecraft mythos, anybody who's read the Necronomicon knows better than to read the Necronomicon and use what's in the Necronomicon. And it is full of nothing good. And she was trying so hard in the movie to be good, and then she goes and does these weird rituals that will summon craziest evil shit you've ever seen, or will see for about 3 seconds before it kills you. And then she goes and carves it into her body. And now her coming out into the living room with all that fresh blood, really cool. But other than that, it was just an okay set of scenes. I like that they're aware of the time isn't right. Like, how long has Dad been out there? Is he coming back? Like, it's starting to actually screw with them, and it's making more sense why they're going crazy. That's all I got.
Right.
So when I said in the opening thoughts how he overacted every scene, when this motherfucker was throwing the tomatoes and peppers, whatever the hell it was, into the trash can, that's what I meant. Slam dunk. Like, he even said that out loud. No, fuck off, bro. And if he's having an episode because of the color, then so be it. But God, anyway, it's just that's a negative Nick Cage thing, not even a movie thing at this point. Whatever. Okay, I'm off that. Witch lady cutting herself, Lavinia. It's odd because her character is so inconsistent to me. Now, listen, I'll admit I haven't had many interactions with witches, so maybe they are very normal at sometimes, and then they just like to cut themselves and do spells and shit. But her shit is all over the place. Her character arc is so inconsistent to me that it took it out of me, or it took me out of it. When it had a lot of potential, honestly, her character had a lot of potential. It just didn't work. And then what the hell's happening here? We got two people merging into one. It looks like telophase and cytokinesis. We've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Alpacas. We've got a blood-soaked Nicolas Cage that's just acting way too weird. Like when he goes in the house, he's got blood all over himself. He just had to kill the alpacas, but he's still covered in blood, and he's just acting way too fucking calm. And then we get the nasty-ass kiss, where this is another movie, just like in just like a 28 Weeks Later. Like, man, just keep it in your pants at this point. There's bigger shit to handle. Don't be so horny. But it's just it's confusing to me about, it's just a lot to take in. Because at this point, what I'm talking about, I don't know what's the colors doing, and I don't know what's just Nicolas Cage is kind of losing his mind. I don't know what's Nicolas Cage is acting very normal for what Nathan's supposed to be right here. It's just I don't know if he's tweaking or I'm tweaking is what I'm getting at. It's just hard to keep up with. And then the worst part about the whole thing. Now, I've said it a lot, and I'll say it again here. Visually, a very pleasing set of scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But the worst part about this set of scenes is when you realize, like Brian said, they kind of blew their load a little early. We still have an hour left. Yeah. They have so much potential. This is an action-packed set of scenes to where they could tie a bow on it here or save this for a little bit later, and it'll be much more satisfying. But instead, we get this shit that's like, oh, hell yeah, let's go. Some crazy shit's popping off. Mm-hmm. And then we're still in it. I can still take a nap and come back for the end of this movie.
You could almost say that this set of scenes right here is the alpaca-lypse. I'm sorry. I'll pack up my things. Sorry.
Oh.
You know. Okay, just for that, I'm going to make you guys watch Llamageddon.
You are not. I'll be sick.
No. You know what? I will gladly watch that movie because that's a movie just like Thanksgiving. Those are movies that are bad on purpose.
I like Thanksgiving.
Sharknado. Those movies that are bad on purpose and they're good because they're bad on purpose. Right. This movie is trying to be great.
I couldn't even finish it.
I like Sharknado. I like Sharknado.
Is great.
Sharknado is great.
It's great.
It's so bad it's good.
Exactly. You gotta have fun with it. You gotta have fun with it.
Yeah. You definitely better. I'll pack up my lunch before I watch that one.
Kick him out of here. I know he's the one that's producing the show, but kick his ass out of here.
Yeah.
All right, here's the ending. Mayor snaps about not caring about contaminated groundwater, and Ward storms out. I think they're like the mayor's office, I guess. Sheriff asks Ward to come over. They show Ward various animal carcasses, and he says they look like radiation burns. Nathan sits in front of the TV again. The two plan to escape on the horse. Benny goes inside for the tack, but now Comet the horse starts freaking out and runs off. She says they gotta walk out of here, and he says in the dark through ancient woodland. He runs after what he thinks is Sam. He climbs down the well and comments and smells like something died down there. He looks down and the ground turns to the light. The light gets Benny before he can climb out, killing him, I guess. Nathan appears and snatches Lavinia and freaks out more. She tries to apologize, then he says, we're family. We stick together, and he shoves her into the attic to feed her mother. Sheriff and Ward head toward the house and past Comet. Nathan pours another drink and watches more TV. Lavinia screams and beats on the door, and she sees her mom has turned into this alien-like creature. Ward and Sheriff get to the house and see Nathan is crazy. They're having problems, he says. Teresa, the alien, is on top of Lavinia, and Nathan says the whole family is in the living room, but no one is there. The two hear Lavinia scream, and they break into the room. They see the mom alien, and Nathan runs in, shooting it. He points the gun at Lavinia's head and walks off. They're not my family. Ward runs to her and says they're going to carry her out of here. Lights from the well come out again, and Sheriff shoots Nathan in the back, and the lights go back into the well. Sheriff calls in for more help. She tells her dad, please don't leave me, as he passes away. She tells Sheriff we're not getting out of here if that thing is out there. She tells Ward she's not leaving with him. She lives here. Ward says he'll be back. Sheriff and Ward, they get to Ezra's house. They enter his house, and we just hear recordings playing, and Ezra's corpse is in the chair. It's just a color, but it burns. The color shoots out of Ezra's head, and the color snatches the sheriff into a tree, and it kills him. Ward runs away back to the well where he sees Lavinia. Lavinia casts the color onto Ward as we get a sneak peek in her mind. He falls to the ground, and she turns to the well where we see a tornado of color coming out to the well into the sky. Ward goes back into the house and sees Nathan sitting in the chair, and now the rest of the family is on the couch. Nathan now slams Ward into the wall, and Ward manages to get into the cellar as the color and sound overwhelm him. Now that's over, and Ward crawls out of the rubble and finds a compass. He looks to the sky. More narration about water, and he'll never drink the damned water. He says only a few of us remember the strange days, and it can't be explained. It was just a color out of space, and he throws his cigarette into the water and walks off. All right, Brian, that was the ending. What do you think?
Like I kind of talked about earlier, I really like the ending a lot. Teresa's death, Madeline Arthur's, I think, acting in this set of scenes was absolutely superb. The soundtrack I thought was great here. The effects from Tommy Chong's character, I thought that looked great. All the way to the money shot you finally get where you can tell all the CG budget and definitely went here. But I thought it was tremendous, man. There's a lot here in this ending that I was a fan of.
Yeah, I don't have a ton. I disagree with you. Now, I'm not saying that there's not some good here. Some of the deaths are powerful and meaningful, but again, they didn't make me care about this family, so I have a hard time really sinking my teeth into it. They named the horse Comet. I laughed at that. Again, I talked about bad dialogue a lot here, but with the ancient woodland, that's just not how two people that age speak to each other. Again, he's going insane, and all I can do is laugh. That's not a positive. Now, I tell you right now, I would have had a heart attack and died on the floor if my mom launched at me as Spider Mom, as I so put it here in my notes, because that's what it looked like.
Someone call her Octomom.
Oh, there we go.
Get out.
Jesus Christ.
What a llama queen.
God damn it, dude.
I paid for this show.
You did. You did. You paid. You did indeed. Look, Nick Cage dies, and that's sad or whatever in the film, but he doesn't even play dead well. His mouth's like weirdly open. He's like when you pretend to fall asleep and you have like a fake snore. That's the face he's making. That's when, like that's how it comes across. It's bad. I don't get it, man. To me, the last however many minutes here are just bad. And I literally wrote, I refuse to take detailed notes because it's some exploding Tommy Chong thing and fast purple lights. That's what I have for the last little bit of these scenes. Look, one funny thing is when Nicolas Cage gets up from the couch and he's walking over, he does like a crip walk, or he does like a pimp walk, limp, or whatever the fuck. I laugh my ass off. I can't help it. It's hilarious. That's pretty much it, man. I don't think the intro with the voiceover I thought was really good. This ending was like he was reading some kind of Shakespearean sonnet, and I just didn't have time for it by the time we got here. So that's all I had.
So first thing I have written down is this mayor's a dumbass greedy bitch. Which, surprise, she wants money. My biggest problem with this set of scenes, and I love the ending, is why is Ward there? Why did the sheriff ask him to come along? In the short story, it makes sense because he's a guy he was an investigative journalist who went out there to find out what the hell happened before this dam comes out. This is like 30 years later. He's just listening to a guy tell all these events who survived it. Ward being there doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't take me out of the movie because I like Ward's character. After all, he's just a hydrologist. Teresa's becoming sentient and attacking Lavinia, really, really creepy. It's not okay. You get the drool all over her face, and it's disgusting. This is where I say that in the beginning of the movie, the sheriff was dumber than Deputy Dewey, and right here is where he's actually better than Deputy Dewey, because the man comes in, shotgun loaded, and flashlight hooked, like he's prepared for anything, and he looks at Ward and says, you never know what you're going to come up against, and that's true. But no matter what he thought he was going to come up against, I don't think he ever expected to see in his last few minutes of life what the hell Teresa and Jack were. It's not a good way to end your life. Spoiler alert, Teresa and Jack are my least favorite kill because you got way more creative kills in this movie. And it's just a shotgun to the head, not very creative. But again, we've watched this movie this afternoon, and on their way down to Tommy Chong, Sarah pointed out something really funny that I didn't notice. Sheriff's got a shotgun with a flashlight. Ward just has a flashlight and he's holding it with two hands like it's a gun. Like, what are you going to do holding a flashlight two hands? And it's in these ancient woodlands. It didn't make any sense, and it made me laugh, as she pointed out. The off-screen death didn't bother me because the effects looked really cool on his dead body. Poor sheriff getting killed by a tree. Hey, which is better than another incident with a tree in another horror movie I like, Evil Dead. That's
hilarious.
Him coming back.
I hate the Evil Dead too. Oh my God, we're the most opposite at all time.
I'm on your side on that one, Sean.
Hey, you and my wife get along because she cussed me out for making her watch The Evil Dead.
You deserved it. You deserved both of them. The remake too. You deserved it.
Wow.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Him coming back. One thing I hate is Benny going down the damn well. Now that's straight out of the short story. One of the kids does fall into the well and is never seen again, and because there's a thing down there. But I didn't feel bad for him. Him climbing down looked terrible. Oh, and it's one of the few times I didn't enjoy the color, because it was too white and it wasn't that nice purple we were used to seeing. There's no point to that death. Like, it didn't make sense why he would climb down there to try and rescue the dog. Dog's probably been down there for days. I'm pretty sure he went into the well that first night when they saw the well exploding. Nick Cage being dead and mouthing Madeline Arthur's line about, "Are you looking at my legs?" Really freaking weird. I was like, I'm not sure how to feel about this. But by far the best shot in the movie is Lavinia dying and that just funnel coming up from the well, piercing and to the stars. It looked crazy cool. Oh, really enjoyed it. Overall, great scenes, and really enjoyed the ending. Actually enjoyed the ending more than the beginning of this movie because the ending actually does something. But that's all I got.
All right, so this set of scenes, I got a question for y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Who cared less about their constituents, the mayor in this film or the mayor in Jaws? Because neither one of them gave a fuck who lived and died. Damn.
The mayor and the crazies.
Ooh, that's true too. Okay. A lot of good mayors out there. Shout out to my mayor. You may know him as WWE's Kane. So this movie, I think I'm going to start a new thing on this show. In the past, I've done the David Arquette tie-in. How does this movie relate to David Arquette? Last week I said something, and this is the last show I said something, and this one has the same kind of thing. This week's winner of the Man Fuck Them Kids Award goes to Nathan because he did not hesitate to throw Lavinia in there with his monster of a wife, and I respect that. Fuck them kids, you got to save yourself.
Fair.
The
Everyone's scalded me 28 weeks later, though. I'm just saying.
I mean, I was on your side for that.
Fair.
Fuck them kids.
The scene at Ezra's house is eerie. I like how it was shot. Again, the way things are shot is awesome in this movie. But I like how he kind of it just feels creepy. Like you feel like nothing good's going to come of it when he's walking in all slow like in the camera. You hear the recording over and over, and that's creepy as shit. And then he's sitting there dead. So I like the way that was shot. And then, as for the rest of the ending, I don't have a problem with it. I actually think the ending is the best part of the movie. Not just because, thank God, we made it home. It's because it's action-packed. You had a lot going on. The color and the lighting and all the visuals, again, are brilliant. They're really on display here. A lot of good things in that regard. And yeah, it's just the most shocking thing about the movie to me. Most shocking thing about the entire movie. We're talking 2 hours plus, or however long it was. The most shocking thing is how anti-Lovecraft they were in the ending, because there's no way he would have had the sole survivor be a black person, because that racist piece of shit was a piece of shit. Anyway, go ahead.
Calling him a racist piece of shit is quite the understatement, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he had issues.
He had some problemas, no doubt about it.
Yeah, he was chanting Sig Heil in the streets. There's a problem there. All right, let's go.
Any more final thoughts before we jump into fun facts real quick? We don't have any questions.
One thing I just wish this movie could have done is, in the short story, it mentioned that he went out there to see the aftermath of this, like 30 years later, and it might have still been going on just slowly, but all the locals were too afraid to go out there and check on and see if this cursed area is expanding. And I think that would have been cool. I don't know how you would have worked it in, but just get the nobody wants to talk about what happened because they're too scared of what the hell happened.
I've only got one fun fact that hasn't been said. I don't think it's been said. But Nicolas Cage always wanted to make a Lovecraft adaptation as tribute to his father, August Capella, Francis Ford Capella's older brother, who was a big fan of H.P. Lovecraft. That's the only fun fact I've got. Anyone else got some?
Yeah, I actually found this one out earlier today because I had fun facts and I lost them, but I found this one. And this is actually the 5th time this story has been adapted. It's adapted as Die Monster Die in 1965, The Curse in 1987, Color from the Dark in 2008, Color Out of Space in 2010, and this one. So, a lot more popular than I thought it was. As doubt any of them are as good as this one, because I've never heard of them.
Doubt any of them could be as bad as this one. Anyway.
This movie was made anywhere from 6 to 12 million, and it made $1 million box office.
I'm not surprised.
Nick Cage, noted box office draw.
It was supposed to be the first in a trilogy, but due to issues with the director, that's never going to happen, and it sucks because I would have liked to have seen the Horror of Dunwich, which is where Lavinia's name comes from, is the story of the Horror of Dunwich. So
I'll be honest with you. It's not the concept or the story of the movie that I have issues with. So if I came across that way, not at all. It is an interesting tale. It's just the way that it was portrayed. So
can't believe I forgot about this one. One interesting fact, I don't know about fun, but this was Richard Stanley's first movie in 27 years. The last movie he did was The Island of Dr. Moreau. Oh, and it kind of shows that he hasn't had a lot of time in the director's seat since then, because there are some questionable things. Again, I get the 2 hours long. I hated that. It really felt its time sometimes, but other than that, fun movie.
All right.
I just got one.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And it's just about the color. So, Sean, you mentioned it's not really a true magenta, but the color used in this film to represent the color is a form of magenta, which doesn't exist as a single wavelength of light as part of the spectrum of visible light. In other words, it's not a part of Roy G. Biv. We've all heard of Roy G. Biv. Rather, it's an extra spectral color that is only perceived by humans in a specific interaction of the optical rods in the eyes that detect red and blue in specific circumstances to create magenta in the mind. All that's a fancy way to say that, or the reason that that's important to note, I guess, is that since red and blue are usually associated with evil and good, that's the reason they chose that color for this, because it means the color is apart from evil and good to come from another universe where those concepts cannot be applied. And so I thought that was an interesting note as to why the color was picked and what it really symbolizes. It's from outer space. There is no good and bad. It's just here to fuck everything up.
It did that.
Yeah.
All right. It's a moment of truth. Favorite kill, least favorite kill, and a rating. Sean, you want to go first or last tonight? You get to pick.
I'll go last because I'm going to bring this score up.
Oh no,
It's got some
that
Cloverfield
means
vibes.
that means his baseline's a 10, and however low we go, he's just gonna go above that.
God damn it.
Who wants to go first tonight?
I'm guessing. I think I'm gonna have it higher than you guys.
Okay.
The best death to me, Dustin liked the way things are shot in this movie. I liked the way Teresa was shot, so I'm gonna go with that movie and or with that kill. Worst death to me is Benny. I thought it was just fell in the well. Real quick, again, I love how the film plays with all the senses. I wish it would have done it more. Second act I think drug on. The third act I thought was really well done. The dialogue in the first half of the film I thought was really bad. I actually gave this movie a 4.
All right, I'll go next then really quick. My favorite death is Nathan because I was glad to see him go. And my least favorite death was Benny because the same reasons Brian. It was just kind of, it was what it was. There's some elements that I did like. I already mentioned those. I don't mind the story. I think there's an interesting story to tell. I just don't think they told it very well. And some of the stuff Brian mentioned, I wish that they used the light a little bit differently to kind of had a little bit more of a tighter story to the light and what it does. But it did not. And it had a lot of bad acting, and it had a lot of bad dialogue, and it had a whole lot of stuff I didn't like. I gave this movie a 2. I'm sorry, Sean. I'm very sorry.
My favorite kill.
Jason Takes Manhattan higher than this. How dare you?
Rightfully so. It had Ken Kersinger in it.
At least that movie had Jason in it.
All right, my favorite kill, I picked the alpacas. Nick Cage snapping on them was epic and hilarious to me. Least favorite kill, I picked Benny as well. Rating, keep this short and sweet. The pros were the visuals. They were beautiful and cool to look at. Albeit, I did think they were a little over the top at the end. I like the effects, like you guys said, like Ezra's. I thought he looked great. I'm also a Julian Hilliard stan. Love Haunting a Hill House, so he'll always be a favorite of mine. Cons, basically this Lovecraftian style horror, not something I'm very familiar with, and I'm not a big fan of it at all. It's not my style. Anyone who listens, I'm sorry. If you like it, I respect it, but I don't. And I'm with you, Mike. I gave it a 2 out of 10. I just can't see myself rewatching. It was kind of painful.
Ouch.
All right.
Sorry, Sean. Appreciate you, though.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
I told you I was going to be higher.
I mean, I expected everyone to be around Brian's level, so.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll wait to hear this one. Go ahead, Dustin.
Oh.
Are we going to get our first 0?
Come on. All right, so let's start with some positives here. My favorite death, just like Mike, it was Nathan because it's Nick Cage, and cool. He's no longer in this movie. My least favorite death was Ezra because, all right, we got the budget to get Tommy Chong in this movie, and we got the budget to make the aftermath of it look cool, but we don't have the budget to give us an on-screen death. Tommy Chong deserves an on-screen death. He's Tommy fucking Chong. All right. As far as my rating, I've got all of the positives I have to say out of the way. The visuals are amazing. Top tier, elite. I'm not going to take anything away from that. However, the telling of the movie. Remember way back when we did Bones, I said that there's an interesting story there. If someone would come in and revive it and rewrite it and make it better, the skeleton's there. The bones are there to make something really good. There's enough subject matter here. There's enough subject matter here that would be good, even with H.P. Lovecraft being so I can't even say problematic.
Problematic.
I tried problematic. There we go.
God damn it.
God.
It's kind of like
out of here.
Some thoughts that I have. First of all, you don't make the family as empathetic as you need to, because this movie really revolves around us caring about this family. We don't do that. They try too much with the bullshit dinner scenes and house scenes. Maybe incorporate something for 13 Ghosts here. This family down on their luck, and they got this house in a will, so that's the reason they move out here. Boom. You have automatic sympathy built in. They're down on their luck. We care about this family. But no. Instead, we just tried to make them a normal family that gave up their life to come out here and raise alpacas.
Animal of the future.
And also, I want to say, Nico has cost us any shot we had of PETA sponsoring this show because his favorite death was a fucking animal. Anyway.
Brian took the bird and orphan. Come on.
That's true. Okay. We were never getting PETA. Who are we kidding?
Yeah, fuck PETA anyways.
I'm about to say, we didn't want PETA's ass anyway. I don't give a fuck. PETA or PETA?
Only PETA I acknowledge is in the Hunger Games.
The only PETA I acknowledge is when Lois Griffin calls his name. Oh, sorry.
So, for the rating, let's just go get this out of the way. All things considered, just watching this movie for what it is, I really thought that this was going to be my lowest rating ever, but it's actually not. I told you guys in the group chat, I was like, this is going to be my lowest rating, but it's actually not. Because I went back through and I found that I gave Leprechaun a 2, and it's not quite that low. I would give it a 2.5. However, I have a personal rule, a personal caveat that says if Nicolas Cage is in it, that automatically deducts a half a point. So 2.5, so now we're sitting at a 2 because Nicolas Cage is in it. However, the visuals in this movie are so stunning that I have to add that half a point back. It lands us at a 2.5 overall.
That was a roller coaster of a fucking rating right there.
I say, I am up and down with my emotions, man.
I don't know how to feel after that one. All right, moment of truth. I've said a lot about this movie. I liked the madness of it, how everyone's just losing their shit. I do wish it had been done a little bit better. Least favorite kill, like I said, was Teresa and Jack, just because I thought it was least creative kill in the movie. Like, oh, you're going to fuse them into an abomination and then just shoot them. Cool. Favorite kill was Lavinia because her just dissolving into that giant tornado was really freaking cool.
That was awesome.
Plus, you get that weird shot of the planet right as she's dissolving, and it's like, oh wow, that's a good use of your CGI budget.
Mm-hmm.
But as for rating, in Nicolas Cage chewing the scenery a lot, he could give Will Shatner lessons on overacting from this movie.
Excuse you. Excuse you.
Will Shatner definitely overacts, brother.
It's Captain James Tiberius Kirk, sir.
You mean the second best captain?
I watched him give someone a Frankensteiner when I watched Star Trek. I would never say something bad about William Shatner.
Exactly.
Oh no, Shatner's
Rick
great.
flared the shit out of some people.
Woo! The only thing good Shatner's ever done has been the inspiration for the Myers mask. All right, let's go. Come on, let's keep it going here.
So my rating is a 7.75. I enjoy the crap out of this movie. It's really fun if I'm just in the mood to watch something and mind-bogglingly strange. So I couldn't quite bring myself to give it an 8. I was tempted at one point to give it an 8. I'm like, I can't do it. I just really can't. So Nico has still done dumber than me by giving House of Wax an 8. So
I'll never forgive that man for giving House of Wax an 8. I can't do it. Jeez.
That one
terrible.
That one
House
is
of
only,
Wax.
I gave that one a 2.75, so they're of the same ilk.
I don't know. I'd take House of Wax over this any day. Any day.
Bullshit.
So
this movie is amazing.
Sean, you should have went ahead and gave it an 8 because our composite score right now is sitting at a 3.65.
I think IMDb has it as like a 6.8. So
yeah, it's got it as a 6.2. But I've said it before. We've talked to Robert Englund. They have not. What the hell do they know?
That's true.
That's fair.
Wowzers.
Wow.
Sean, I just want to say thank you, first of all, for being a great fan to us. You're awesome.
Absolutely.
You always interact with us. We really appreciate it. And I commend you for standing in the paint in this one. I think you did it justice.
I do too. I'll give you credit for that because you were going to be the only one that did. So I'm glad you did.
Iron Man match, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
May have lost it, but I still went the distance.
Any final thoughts,
down
Sean? Anyone else before I shout out the blood donors before we get out of here?
I'm good.
No, I just been having fun on listening to you guys since all the way back in episode 2, Halloween.
Hey, sorry the volume was so low. Oh, never mind.
I forgot to turn my mic on. God, I felt so bad.
No, I've had a blast. Thanks for having me on tonight. I'm definitely going to pick Jason X in the future. But I'm probably going to pick a more fun movie.
Then we'll be on each other's side when we get to Jason X.
The best Friday the 13th movie.
You lost me. I don't hate Jason X.
You lost me on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
X then 09, and it's just this close.
No. All right. Shout out the blood donors.
Yeah, let's shout out the blood donors. Let's get out of here. Legendary blood donors. 2 times. Miss Jo Swinford, thank you very much. Mr. Sean Irwin, the guest tonight on the show. Mr. Matt Sears. Miss Shan Petrusevich. Big shout out to her. Michelle Mirza. Mr. Austin Graham, who will be doing his pick this week as well later on. Mr. Andrew Ferguson, big shout out. We actually have a final guy level blood donor, Mr. Hunter Nelson, and he is also a Dream Warrior blood donor. So that's awesome for a Hunter. Appreciate that. Other Dream Warriors we have is Tasha Reed and Rochelle McLaughlin, I believe is how you pronounce it. And our camp counselors, we have Mickey McCrane, Jared Summers, Dennis Kennedy, and Joseph Clayton. Thank you all so much for donating. We really appreciate it. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I believe that's it.
Nope,
I'm good.
I've said everything I got.
Sean. It was a lot of fun, and I'm glad you're a good sport about it. And appreciate the continued support.
Yeah, it's nothing personal. I gave Brian a 2.5 for his birthday pick just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, Nico and I shit talk each other all the time in the group chat, so yeah, it's nothing personal.
Yeah, it's definitely not personal.
You can ask Sarah. The first thing I did when I checked Twitter this morning and saw, "Oh, you apologized to me," was just bust out laughing, and she's like, "What did you do now, you idiot?"
Hey, Sean, thank you for coming on the show. Being a fan, like you said, you're awesome. I also want to thank all the listeners. We really appreciate it, and y'all have a good one.
And just want to remind everybody to don't go out there